My mother goes to my grandmother and she says, "Ma, if I have another boy, we're going to name him Michael." After hearing this news, my grandmother looked my mother directly in her eye and she said, "His name will be David." For David in the Bible was a king. David killed Goliath, and David was a great man. And my grandson, who will be named David, will be a great man. Y'all know I love my grandmother. You see, my grandmother had given me a marker for success. She saw me as a giant slayer. She saw me as an overcomer, a winner, and a champion. Now, I did not always live up to my potential. I did not always know who I would become. How many of you in here could say you struggle sometimes to live up to your potential? You struggle trying to figure out who you're going to be and who you're going to become. So that was me. I struggled to become the person who I was on my way to be. One reason I struggle is because of where I come from. You see, I grew up in an urban community in Brooklyn, New York called Bedford-Stuyvesant. Now, you may have never heard of Bedford-Stuyvesant or Bed-Stuy do or die, as we call it. But Bed-Stuy is the home of these guys right here. Biggie Smalls, Jay-Z, Chris Rock and his brother Tony, and Tracy Morgan. We all come from the same community. Now, when you grow up in Bed-Stuy, you know about gang violence in the streets. You know about drug deals on the corner. It's not a place of inspiration or aspiration. But Bed-Stuy is a place where if you come from Bed-Stuy, just like these guys, you grow up wanting to become a living legend. And I don't have to tell you about those guys because they are living legends. But I grew up trying to become a living legend myself. Now, I couldn't rap like Jay. There's no way I was going to be able to, they call me Big Papa. I wasn't going to be able to do that at all. And of course, trying to tell comedy, my family, even today, tell me, "You're not funny." So how was I going to become a living legend? Well, I love sports. I love the game of baseball. I played baseball as a young kid growing up. I love sports. And coming from New York, I wanted to play for the New York Mets or the New York Yankees. So one day, finally, I got an opportunity to go to college. I'm a first-generation college student and graduate myself. I got a chance to get into college. Didn't have the greatest of grades, but I got an opportunity to get in, and I made the best of it. Now, let me just fast forward to my final year as a college student. Playing baseball, I love the game. I was not a great player like a superstar. I grew up in the area of the names of like a Ricky Henderson or Ken Griffey Jr. or Reggie Jackson. Those were superstars. Those were people who were headed to the pros. But I had something, by the time I got to my senior year of college, I had something that the pro scouts said, "You have just what we want," and that was speed. I was the kind of person that if I got on first base, I stole second and I stole third, waiting for somebody to bring me home. And they said, "Walker, we love your speed and we could use those legs." And there's a term that when a person is fast, they say he has wheels. I had wheels. In my final year of college, I was leading the nation in stolen bases in the division that I played in. I stole 37 bases in 22 games. And just about 3 weeks before my college career was over, I got this letter. It was a letter from the Los Angeles Dodgers, written to Dave, June the 7th, 1982. Telling me to bring my glove, my spikes, my uniform, because the Los Angeles Dodgers was going to give me a tryout. And here's my opportunity to become what? A living legend. I'm going to get out of Bed-Stuy. I'm going to play for the Dodgers. Listen, they're out in Los Angeles. Let's go. Because that was my dream. So I'm playing in my final few games as a collegiate athlete. And I'll never forget that day. I got it. We were in the game. I got a base hit. I'm standing on first. And let me ask you, what do you think I did? I stole second base. That was stolen base number 37 in 22 games. Now I'm standing on second base and my teammate gets a base hit to the outfield. And I'm running and dashing, coming around third, running as hard as I could to try to score. And as I'm coming to the plate, I go to slide and I have a collision with the catcher. And now I'm rolling on the ground in excruciating pain. I'm yelling, my leg, my leg. As I looked up, I could see my coach coming to see about me. I saw the athletic trainer coming to give me aid. I could see my teammates. They were standing over top of me. Some of them had their hands over their mouths. Others had their hands over top of their heads because they were in disbelief as to what they were seeing. I was laying there in excruciating pain, yelling my leg. I finally got a chance to look up and see what had happened. I shattered my leg. I broke it in half. When I saw my leg, I knew I wasn't going to make that trial. I knew my baseball career had ended right there on the field that day. But I realized what I was experiencing was what I call a defining moment. A defining moment says that when a defining moment comes, either you define the moment or the moment will define you. And I decided to define my moment. I said, I'm not going to let this situation get me down. I'm going to get up. I'm going to rehab my leg. I'm going to come back to school and I'm going to earn my degree. So I did just that. I came back to school. I earned my degree. And after I graduated college, I went on and became an educator, a teacher. I worked for the New York City school system. After becoming a teacher for many years, I came back and became an assistant principal and then a principal. I earned several master's degrees. And then finally, I came back and said, my education journey is not over yet. I have to go all the way to earn the doctorate degree. Here's what I realized. While I thought to become a living legend through my sports and athletics, but what I realized is that I became a living legend because I educated my mind. Yes, I went from do or die Bed-Stuy to education high. See, y'all thought I couldn't rap, but I got one in there, didn't I? And also, what that shows is sometimes in life, you're going to face obstacles. You're going to face challenges. You're going to face giants. And the question is, when those obstacles and those giants come into your life, what are you going to do about it? How do you win against the giants? How do you defeat them and get up to go and get your victory out of life? I want to give you just 3 points. Here's the preacher in me. This to give you 3 points that I want you to do. If you're going to defeat giants in your life, number 1, you have to make room for your gift. Somebody said, what is your gift? The gift is that ability, that talent that's in you that's able to solve any and every problem you ever came across. You do not have to look outside of yourself for the solution to your problem. You are the one that has it, and God has gifted you with that ability, that talent to be able to solve your problem. All you have to do is reach down on the inside, because that's where the solution is. And anything that you deal with, any problem that you have, you can solve your problem. Here's another thing. And let me just say this, because here's why you have to make room for your gift. If you make room for your gift will make room for you. Here's the second thing. I want you to manage fear. I heard that said earlier today. Someone was talking about fear. There is no success without fear showing up first. So many people get sidetracked with your goals, your objectives, your assignment in life because you get worried and scared about something that must show up before you become successful. And that's a thing called fear. Fear and faith are, you know what I call fear and faith? Well, we know what faith is, right? I heard it spoken about earlier. Faith is believing that something can happen, right? Faith is believing that you can do something. But whenever you have faith, the fraternal twin of faith is going to show up, and that's called fear. They are not exactly the same. They were not born at the same time, but they always show up around the same time. The fraternal twin to your faith is fear. It has to come. But if you can manage your fear, you will be successful. All you got to do is push past it, take a deep breath, and say, I can handle this, and keep on going. Here's the last thing I want to say is maintain your advantage. Each of you have an advantage in life, and most of us don't even know that we have it. You know what your advantage is? Everything about you is your advantage in life. Wherever you come from, sometimes we look at our background and we look at it as a disadvantage. We look at our life experience. Maybe we had an absentee father. We see it as a disadvantage. We see being of a particular size or height or again, coming from a certain place, we see that as a disadvantage. I'm here to tell you that whatever you've been through, that's your advantage in life. You need to take every struggle, every heartache, every problem, every difficulty you've ever had and use it to your advantage. As long as you maintain your advantage, you will win. But if you give up your advantage, you'll lose every time. Let me close this out. I just recently wrote a book called The Champion's Mind. As you see, the title of my book is in there. And I talk about the biblical character. Again, I tell that same story that I just told you about my grandmother. I put it in there of what she saw me, because I wanted to show people that you, as well as I, although my name is David, we are all in one way or another a David. Why? Because as Malcolm Gladwell says, when challenges come your way, and it doesn't matter whether you're famous or unknown, you're going to face a challenge. You're going to face an obstacle. But when that challenge comes, it's going to force you to respond. And the question is, how will you respond when that challenge comes? You have to have a champion's mind. I want to encourage all you that are working on graduation, go get your education. Because when you get your education, you can become a living legend for your parents, like I am for my grandma. Thank you very much.